Hey, good Monday morning to you. Welcome on into lunch with Claibs and Joe here. Claibs on I'm Joe Roderick. That's Mike Claiborne on the lap of Mike Claiborne.
That was Mike Claiborne.
First camera casualty that we've had in over a year of doing this show. What's up, Claibs?
Oh, well, as you can tell, it's all good.
Oh my goodness! So we got a lot going on today, man. We have a Cardinals just wrap up their biggest series of the year with hosting the Cubs, and now they are in Chicago taking on the White Sox. Claibs, I'm up here too in Chicago. I'm going to the games tonight, tomorrow night, maybe Wednesday. I don't know. You get that feeling. It's a Wednesday afternoon game. I'm going to go to those two games. I'm just going to want to go home after those two.
No, I agree. Tuesday, tomorrow, will be a record. Joe West is umpiring tomorrow, and he will set the record for most games umpired in the major leagues.
Is he going to be behind the plate for that game?
I'm not sure. And I'm not sure how much they're going to recognize him because on your special day, it might come down to the chorus of boos. So I'm not sure how they're going to do that tomorrow.
Well, we'll talk about that series in a bit, but it was a few weeks ago. The Cardinals during the Cincinnati Reds series, Joe West was in town, and the Cardinals honored him, or had at least read a script about congratulating him on so many games umpired and letting the fans know that he was about to. So they did acknowledge him during the Cardinal game back in April.
Yeah, but he's going for the big kahuna tomorrow. So
who has that record?
I want to say Bill Clem.
Okay.
I think. I'm not sure. I want to say Clem.
A lot of umpiring still to talk, and we'll get into all that. But I do want to start with, by the way, it's anytime I'm on the road, it's always a Munganast road trip sponsored by the folks at Munganast St. Louis Acura. It was just a few weeks ago. We were hanging out inside that 2022 MDX doing the show from.
Did you drive that up there?
I did not drive that up here. I have not asked Jamie to drive that up here. You know what? I have some more road trips coming up. I might, so I'm going to save it for a big one. I'm going to say that's a request I'm going to save for a big trip. So I'm going to hold off on that. So Jamie, if you're watching right now, that request will be coming at some point. But we'll start with the Blues. The Blues season ends yesterday. It wasn't pretty. They didn't really show up at all in the entire postseason, but they get swept by the Colorado Avalanche. The season is done, and the next time they take the ice, it'll be the first time they'll be having a normal, regular, full season. We hope, since they hoisted the cup, but there were so many issues with this team by the time they got around to the postseason. They really were just kind of lucky to be there.
Yeah, you're right. I think you and I've talked enough about this team. I never had a good feeling about it from day one. The injuries obviously came into play, but I thought they had some character issues. I just didn't think they played hard enough. And, Craig Berube, put together a pretty good coaching staff and a pretty good game plan, but there was just some guys that just didn't show up. And I really look at like the top six forwards, other than Ryan O'Reilly, the rest of those guys just didn't have enough good nights. The defense was completely different from the year they won the Stanley Cup. The goaltending was slightly above average, and you can't win if you have average goaltending. So there were a lot of issues that came into play. But I am of the belief that at this point, Doug Armstrong is going to have to make some major moves with regard to how this team looks, because I think that they need some. I think they need a character change. I mean, too many nights guys just didn't commit, and there were too many opportunities for young players to seize an opportunity to really be a viable player on this team. And I can pick on certain guys and pick them out and tell you who they are, but I think if you watch Blues long enough, you would have realized what guys just didn't show up enough.
So yesterday after the game, post game Zoom, Vladimir Tarasenko came on, and he said that he was dealing with a groin issue. He said the shoulder, 100%, no issues with that. He said what sidelined him for 8 of the last 10 games was a groin issue. So you knew he was playing at less than 100%. You had Robert Bortuzzo and Justin Falk both lost in game 1 of this series. You had David Perron, who was sidelined due to COVID protocol in this series. Vince Dunn has been injured. Oscar Sundqvist has been injured. Carl Gunnarsson has been injured. You look at you just go up and down that list of all of the injuries that you had to deal with. And I mean, half those guys are defensemen. And you could see with all of the shots that the Avalanche got off in this series that the Blues were really, really hurting on stopping Colorado from getting the puck close to the net, and Jordan Binnington didn't stand a chance.
Yeah, you mentioned all those injuries, but what about the guys who were healthy and how they didn't step up? And that's probably my biggest bone of contention. And we're talking about veteran players. We're talking about Jaden Schwartz. We're talking about Braden Shen. We're talking about Zach Sanford. And Sanford may be younger, but Zach Sanford had a great opportunity to really do more. So for all those guys, Sammy Blaze, another guy, they had a chance. And, with guys going down, they had even more of an opportunity, and they just didn't live up to the expectations. So I'm of the belief that they need to make a change. There's probably half dozen guys that probably don't need to be back.
Mike Hoffman probably not coming back. That's one. That he was just kind of.
Although I like to have him. I like to have him because you don't have anybody in the wings, pardon the pun, that can score.
You don't, but you're talking about Doug Armstrong going out and getting all these names. That's a position that needs to be addressed, and hopefully too you get a 100% healthy Vladimir Tarasenko when you come back next year too. So as you look ahead at what this team needs to do, have you looked at it enough? I know I haven't, to see who's even available out there.
No,
free agency wise.
I haven't. But I think what's even more pressing is what you do about expansion. That's going to be coming up here fairly soon also. And I think they've got some decisions to make on who they're going to protect to make sure that they do have some sort of foundation for the future. So there's a lot of things going on. And I think a lot of teams are going to look to retool. If you're the Washington Capitals, you say to yourself, wait a minute, we went home early again. I mean, there are a lot of teams. Look at the Edmonton Oilers. I mean, there's a team that everybody thought was going to break through this year, and they're down 3 to the Winnipeg Jets. So there are a lot of situations that I think in meeting rooms right now, much like the Blues, that are going to be looking to maybe make some significant changes, especially with the cap going up a little bit, perhaps, expansion. League will be watered down a little bit. There's a lot of things that will be going into the thought process for this upcoming year.
You had last year when the bubble reopened, the Blues lost their first 3 games and then lost 3-1 in the playoffs in the bubble last year. And then this year you get swept by the Avalanche in the first round. Those have been the 2 playoffs that the Blues have experienced since winning the Cup in 2019. As a diehard Blues fan, when can you start to be upset with the team's postseason appearances after winning the Cup?
Well, I think next year will be a deciding year on whether they're in a rebuild or they're getting closer. I think winning Stanley Cup is the hardest trophy to win in baseball. I mean, in hockey. That and being back-to-back champions in baseball. I mean, think about the last back-to-back champion you had there. But I think in hockey, there's so many intangibles that go into it. If the Blues were a team that sat back and did nothing, I'd probably be raising hell right now. But, they spend up to the cap. They do everything they can do in order to make themselves competitive. They hope to get a break here or there. I think if they would have done it over again, maybe they would have sat on some money and maybe looked later in the year to pick up somebody, but they didn't. I don't think they envisioned the injury situation taking place like it did. But, you live and you learn. And I think that they're going to be okay because I think the way Doug Armstrong does business, his foundation is something that I'm comfortable with, where he's not flying by the seat of his pants. There's a method to where he's trying to take this organization. So I'm good with it. I think that you got to get some more character players in here, some guys who really want it, guys who understand it. And if you do that, then you should be able to get right back in the fray. But, remember this. 2 of the best teams in the entire league in your division. So that or your conference rather. So that's going to really make you step it up a bit and figure out how do you counter the speed of Colorado, the way Vegas puts their team together. It's a whole team. I mean, they don't lack in anything. So how do you keep up with that? And then that's, I think, the next question the Blues have to have. And they ought to maintain their own personality along the way to make sure, hey, St. Louis is a tough team to play against because they do this or they do that well. So there's a lot of things they still have to work on.
Do you think that they would have won a game or fared a little better if they would have faced the Knights?
No. These two teams are a gap in front of the Blues. Okay. I know the Blues had their way with them late in the year, but what was Vegas really playing for? Now I know the President's Cup was there for them to win it, but I think at the end of the day, Vegas was just trying to make sure they didn't get anybody hurt. They wanted to make sure they had some continuity, and they did that. When the playoffs roll around, everybody steps it up a notch, and the Blues just couldn't find that step to go up.
So the Blues playoff or the Blues season comes to an end. Are you doing anything with Ferrario or wrap up this week?
Yeah, we'll do something. We'll do something this week. Yeah, and we'll put a bow on this season.
Sounds good. We will get into more baseball talk here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe right after this.
St. Louis Acura has the best inventory in the Midwest, like the all-new 2022 Acura MDX. It earned the highest safety award from the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety. Get 1.9% financing for up to 60 months and $1,000 in loyalty conquest offers. Or get 0% financing on the redesigned 2021 TLX for up to 36 months and $2,500 in loyalty conquest offers. St. Louis Acura, becoming better than ever for you.
Back here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe, powered by Ameren, Illinois, driven by Munganess St. Louis Acura, and sponsored by Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert. Find him online at thehomeloanexpert.com. Cardinals and Cubs this past weekend, and this series, outside of the eighth inning from Friday night, gave me a lot of feelings similar to what we saw in Milwaukee a few weeks ago, where the starting pitching, or just the pitching in general, allowed very few runs. The games were all very close, all had that vibe to it where they, it seemed like it was a playoff game or almost a playoff atmosphere, if you will, just for the fact that, there were even a couple fans in the crowd compared to what all these games were last year. But it seemed like meaningful baseball this series and that Milwaukee series, outside of that eighth inning where all hell just broke loose and the defense was bad and the Cubs bats finally showed up.
Yeah, this was a very interesting weekend of baseball. And you're right about the eighth inning, but I thought the fan impact had a lot to do with it. Both teams played well. Both teams have a tough time scoring runs against good pitching, but there's nothing new about that. But it was a different vibe for me as far as how these games were played. And I think it also exposed both teams and what their needs are going to be. The Cardinals are short in pitching. They have no bench to speak of right now. And those are two things they're going to have to figure out. And I think both of the answers are going to come from outside the organization.
They have to.
You don't have anybody in the minors that's ready to pitch for you. You don't have a left-handed bat. The closest one is Nolan Gorman, and he's 2 years away, maybe. So you got to figure some things out, and you got to make some tough decisions about some of the people who are already here.
It's so true with just the lack of the bench. I had a friend texting me last night when Carpenter came up late in the game and saying, "Oh, you're going to put Carpenter out there against a lefty to pinch hit?" And I just wrote back, I go, "Who else?
Max
who else you going to throw out there?"
By, yeah,
right. Morov's also left-handed too, isn't he?
He's a switch hitter.
He's a switch hitter. You're going to put him out there high leverage because you don't know what Dylan Carlson's able to do right now. You don't know what his back is, and your other guy is Andrew Kisner. Like it is with a 26-man roster, you shouldn't have these kind of issues right now. But the team is so short with pitching that they have to put that extra arm out there in the bullpen right now, and it is becoming, when you have those starts like Adam Wainwright yesterday goes out and goes 8 innings for you. Jack Flaherty pitches a really good game the day before, earlier in the week. You have all of these very good outings, but then you're reminded just how quickly that bullpen's going to unravel. And I thought Mike Schilt did a very good job Friday night explaining to the media when he was questioned about the roles of some of these guys in the bullpen. Because at the time, you remember, it was a 4-3 game on Friday night when he went to the bullpen. In a game when you're down by a run, you cannot throw Giovanni Gallegos and Genesis Cabrera and Alex Reyes out there every single night. You can't do it. You need to rely on these guys have their set roles. Ryan Helsley, Tyler Webb need to come out there when you're down 1 or 2 runs, and they need to get you out. They need to get these guys out and preserve that 1-run deficit to allow you to come out there and get that lead. And neither one, Ryan Helsley, he's done it a few times.
Not enough, though.
No, he hasn't, but he's come out there. He's had a really bad outing. Then he'll go have 2 lights out outings. Then he has another bad outing. Tyler Webb has not been good, and he's owned up to it, but you need him to go out there and perform better, not just say the right things afterwards.
Well, in his case, Tyler Webb's case, I don't know what else he can do right now. I mean, he's been ineffective. I don't think anybody would argue that. And for him to admit it, I mean, that's not breaking news to anybody. But they've got to find 3 other guys who can get people out. Like, for instance, tonight, you can't use Reyes tonight. You can't use Gallegos tonight. So it's going to be Helsley. It's going to be Cabrera, or the 2 guys you can trust right now. And maybe Ponce. But, right now they're very thin, and they're going up against a team that mashes. The good thing about it is you don't have you have the DH, but I don't think the Cardinals are really that good in the DH department because they're going to have Matt Carpenter probably be the DH. So, it's a team that's short right now on talent.
Do you give someone like Goldschmidt a day off from the field today?
I might DH him. Yeah, I might.
I think that, I could see that happening with both Arenado and Goldschmidt this week. Yeah, as much as Arenado did have the 2 errors on Friday night, but still had Gold Glove plays throughout the rest of the series. But it's a scheduled day off where all he has to do is go out there and hit. I could easily see that happening.
I'll tell you another guy I throw in that mix. I throw Tommy Edman in that mix of DH. That guy's played a lot of baseball.
And you know what? Carpenter could play all 3 of those positions.
True.
So Matt Carpenter truly could play all 3 games this series at first, second, and third base during the week.
I think that's a good point you make.
You know what? I'm recording with Rammer in about an hour from now. We'll get his thoughts on how he would construct that lineup for all this. But on top of that, you get that DH. So are you fine with going with that short bench? Are you fine with just having Kisner and Maroff and an outfielder there, because you don't have to worry about double switches? You don't have to worry about pinch hitting for the pitcher. So you're fine with just a 3-man bench this week?
I think you can play with that, because you're going to need every arm you can find.
And that's I think arms are there. Like, as you look down in Memphis, who else is down there?
There's nobody there. There's nobody who's far enough along to be able to contribute. I think you're going to see a lot of Jake Woodford coming up. Ponce is going to be a guy you're going to see busy. And as I mentioned earlier, you don't have Reyes tonight. And really, I'd like to let him have 2 days off. So, you're kind of stuck. But there's one good thing about this. I've seen a lot of managers manage bullpens. Mike Schilt is as good as anybody I've seen when it comes to managing a bullpen. And he has more information than you and I know sometimes there'll be some moves that he makes that maybe fans won't understand. That's because he's got more information about the situation than we do. But he doesn't mess up very often, man. He's got a real good feel about what's going on out there. And he and Mike Maddox really work well together on that front.
And the thing is he's going to those guys in their roles, and they're not getting the outs. And that's,
he's putting them in great positions to succeed.
Right, and that's nothing new to Mike Schilt. That's something that Mike Matheny had to deal with, and before him, Tony La Russa had to deal with. You could put those relievers out there and give them their set roles. If they're not getting the job done, there are many times you can't sit there and talk about the manager messing up.
I agree.
It's frustrating as hell.
They still have to do their job.
Speaking of, I know there were updates on Miles Mickelson the other day. What was said about his injury that he left the game for on Saturday?
Yeah, forearm tightness. They were going to get a second opinion. The initial MRI came back saying that there was no structural damage that they could tell, but they're going to get a second opinion anyway. It doesn't sound good, okay? I mean, let's say if they shut him down, they say, all right, we're going to shut you down for a couple of weeks. So that means he needs another week to go back to Memphis and rehab to get ready. So you're saying to me that Miles Mickelson wouldn't be available to you for maybe a month. So at that point, with this stretch of games that they have, they're going to have to go find a pitcher, a legitimate starter. I like the guy over in Baltimore, the lefty that threw the no-hitter. You might be able to get him because Baltimore is not going anywhere.
Baltimore also has Matt Harvey in their rotation. A very good. Did he win a Cy Young?
I'm not sure.
I'm trying to think if he won the Cy Young with the Mets one year.
I don't think so.
But also, when do the rumors for Max Scherzer start to heat up?
Well, the Nationals are in contention in that division. So as long as they're in contention, he's not going anywhere.
And if they drop out?
I think you probably will hear something after that. But the question is, when do they feel like they're out of it?
And yeah, with the wild card, we've seen teams hold on longer and longer. What does it take to get him, though?
Prospects. Because, when you think you want a guy something big in return and you're saying, well, wait a minute, we're taking a big contract off of your hands because you're going to have to spend money on some future players. So I'm not sure if it's going to cost you as much as you may think. But, I'm sure they'll look at our pitching somewhere along the line, and there's some guys out there that might be available to them. I think the key here is when you look at a team like Washington and they want to do business, you give them a list of the players that aren't on the list. So your untouchable list, and you can pick any one of these 5 guys that we'll make available to you.
The Cardinals will take on the White Sox this week up at Guaranteed Rate Field, Claibs. But
that's too much for me, man.
Yeah, it's Comiskey. It's still Comiskey to me.
I call it White Sox Park before I call it that other thing.
Is the media going to get to talk to La Russa tonight before the game?
I'm sure somebody. Yeah, I'm sure they'll hold court. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who's all left in that media room.
Derek,
press box.
Derek and Rick Hummel.
Yeah. I would like to see I know it sucks that you guys aren't able to travel up here and do that, but I'm sure if Hummel got to do a sit down with La Russa before the game this week, face to face, and write something, that would be a really good read.
I'm sure that'll happen.
Just one-on-one though?
I'm sure they can make arrangements. I mean, Rick Hummel's in the Hall of Fame, and he deserves that respect to. If he needs to have direct access, they can make that happen.
Are you? What do you have planned for the games this week?
Well, we'll be doing our thing from the ballpark. I'm looking to hopefully get Darren Jackson on today to talk about this White Sox team, and then we'll just kind of play it by ear from there. I always try and get the first game pregame show with somebody from the other team, just to kind of give us an idea of what we're dealing with.
I will tell Cardinal fans this as you watch this, as you listen to this at some point this week, if you have an opportunity to watch the White Sox broadcast, and this is nothing against the work that Danny Mac does with all of his partners. If you have a chance to watch the White Sox broadcast this week and listen to the team of Jason Benetti and Steve Stone, I've said it many times, they are the best duo in all of baseball on TV. The best duo in all of baseball on TV is Jason Benetti and Steve Stone for what they do. So if you want to watch the Cardinal game tonight and you have the chance to watch the White Sox broadcast, I strongly recommend checking that out and watching the two of them work together and how good of a job they do.
Well, I'm in the radio business, so I'll just be listening.
I'm aware of that, and that's why I prefaced it the way that I did. No disrespect to anybody else.
Take nothing away from Jason. I think he does a really good job, and he's a guy who can do multiple sports.
He did a Sox game, and then he did an NBA playoff game.
Yeah, I really enjoy his work, and Steve Stone's been a consummate guy forever. I thoroughly enjoy them both. And so, you know what? We'll have multiple options of hear good broadcasts this week.
And then Darren Jackson's working with Len Casper this year in the radio booth. So lots of different ways to listen to the game and enjoy it this weekend. And hey, after Steve Stone's done a career doing games with Harry Carey late in his career, and then Hawk Harrelson after that, he deserves to work now with Jason Benetti to do on the broadcast that he's doing right now. So I will say it, Claibs. You do not need to say it. We'll talk. We do have some more Cardinal minor league news coming up before we wrap things up, but a quick word from our friends at Ameren.
An important part of being safe in the event of severe weather is being prepared. At Ameren, Illinois, we're prepared too. Prepared to restore power quickly and safely, and to inform you of local outages and updates on restoration times, with text alerts sent right to your phone. Sign up for outage notifications today. And check one more thing off your list at amerenillinois.com/alerts.
Back here on Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on claibsonline.com, powered by Ameren, Illinois, driven by Mungenast St. Louis Acura, and sponsored by Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert. Find him online at thehomeloanexperts.com. Phil Mickelson wins the PGA Championship yesterday. I know you were in the booth, but you got those big 80-inch TVs in there. Were you guys able to watch the final few holes up there?
Yeah, we didn't miss much. It was a fun event. I know there's been a lot made about him being 50 years old, and that's great. But I thought it was good for the game because, there aren't that many recognizable guys on the tour. You have Tiger, you have Phil, and then you have other guys who are in that next tier that are promising golfers but aren't as consistent as those guys are. And even when I say that, I was watching this one stat yesterday, and, Phil's won like 6 majors in 118 matches. And I think Koepka's won 4 or 5 in like 27. Mm-hmm. So, Phil has been around for a while, and I guess his success rate isn't as great as you think it is, but he's got a lot of seconds and thirds.
I was going to say, how many second place finishes does Phil have over those years?
Yeah. But
it's got to be in the double digits, right?
One of the greats of our generation, there's no question. And I was happy for him. He didn't do anything exceptional yesterday. He just played a nice, steady round of golf. Koepka got himself in trouble early and never really recovered. And everybody else was just in and out. Nobody could find any consistency. And that's why that last round, that last day of a match is really one of the challenging things you see in sports. A lot of guys just can't hold up.
Yeah, he has finished in the top 5. So he has won 6 majors. He has still never won the U.S. Open. He has 11 second-place finishes in his career. 6 of those have come at the U.S. Open, and then he has 7 third-place finishes. So that's that's a lot of times he's been very close to the top there that hasn't been able to make it. And what the U.S. Open coming up next is where at
Father's Day. I'm not sure where it's at this year.
Oh, it's in La Jolla. It's in La Jolla. I'm sorry, La Jolla. Yeah, California. So that's right. Because they mentioned last night on the broadcast how it was at Phil Mickelson's home course. So and he needed to. He actually wasn't invited there as of a few weeks ago, and then finally won that, and now he's exempt for the next 5 years. Now that he's won the PGA Championship. So, did you ever the course they played yesterday? You ever play there?
I have. It's a unique course. You talk about the wind, but it's a little tight. It's kind of like they just basically backed up some sand and some weeds and dropped it on the beach. Mm-hmm. Really, I mean, it's not anything I would call picturesque. But there are a lot of courses in South Carolina like that. Those tobacco farmers sold out to these golf corporations and let them have the land once they thought the tobacco industry was going to go down the tubes. And you'll see some really good courses, but I don't know if you would say they are as scenic. If you're into scenery, I'm into making sure the grass is cut. But it was okay. It's an okay course.
So Tiger Woods is 45 right now. Phil just won. He was the oldest person to win a major at the age of 50. Does Tiger have that in the back of his mind that he's going to get right in the next 6-7 years and come back and win a major in his 50s?
Well, I think now he's seen somebody else do it. He's going to say, why not me?
Right.
I think by that time of the age of 50,
He'll be able to walk by then.
Yeah, he'll be fine. I mean, we if nothing else comes up,
Right.
but I think you make a good observation. There is time for him to do this without any urgency of saying, I got to do it right now. Just like I know I was having a conversation with somebody recently. You think he'll be at the he's going to get healthy enough to be at the Masters next year. I don't even know if the guy can walk next year.
Right.
So I just think we need to just hold off. Let's enjoy the golf that we have. And if anybody else shows up that wants to be part of it, then hooray for them.
The Ryder Cup, is Phil going to be on that?
If he wants to be. I think the Ryder Cup has tried to go in a different direction here recently. Younger guys, hot guys at the time. If Phil continues to stay hot, you got to consider him.
So yesterday you had baseball, regular schedule worth of baseball. You had the final round of the PGA Championship. You had your NHL hockey throughout the day, and you had a lot of first-round games for the NBA playoffs. You saw the first game in how long? The first playoff game in how long at Madison Square Garden?
Was it since
yesterday?
11 years, I think.
I was going to say, I knew it was over 10 years that's happened. You saw that yesterday. You had LeBron against the Suns yesterday. It was a full day of sports that I completely missed out on watching a lot of the NBA yesterday because there was so much other basketball stuff. I know that I did, especially with what Trae Young did in Madison Square Garden. Yeah. But I still feel it seems like every game LeBron is doing or saying something that is causing some sort of criticism on him. And the flopping is getting a little bit out of control with him too.
It's embarrassing. I mean, you're the biggest, strongest guy on the court, and you're falling over like somebody, hit you with a blowtorch. And you know what? He's a good player, and he'll end his career with a lot of records. I don't think there's any question about that. But man, I don't know. I mean, I'm a LeBron fan because of his longevity, but there's times when I'm like, enough is enough. And I guess here's the question. When you look at LeBron James's game, what will you remember him for? What does he do well? I mean, we knew Michael could leap and we knew Michael could shoot the ball. Kareem had the sky hook. Even Karl Malone, who's second in scoring, was a great power forward, But I mean, LeBron probably, people would say he can do everything, and he probably can. But he's just not a guy that, for me, and is one that I'm going to always remember other than his brute strength.
He scores a lot because he's the biggest guy, the biggest, strongest guy on the court. And on top of that, he passes well for a big man. I mean, that's something he'll be remembered for. But
I mean, he understands the game. He has a real good IQ for the game, and I respect that because there are a lot of guys who don't. But I mean, maybe it's LeBron overkill because the league has, hitched their wagon up to him and he's carried him a long way. But, this game has a lot of good players in it. And if you haven't watched Memphis, if you haven't watched the Phoenix Suns, there's some good teams out there. Atlanta. The only team that really amuses me is the Washington Wizards because Beal and Westbrook, they single-handedly got them in the playoffs. And that team can't guard anybody. And as I said earlier to somebody today, somebody might score 140 points in a game in that playoff series because they don't give a damn about guarding anybody.
No, but it is nice to see. You mentioned the Suns. They traded for Chris Paul this offseason.
Which, by the way, they're going to win that series.
And that's the thing that Chris Paul has worked out. You remember last year in the bubble for the NBA, how the Suns went undefeated, but that still wasn't good enough for them to qualify for the playoffs then. And it was a lot of, watch out for the Suns next year. Watch out what they might do. And damn it, they showed up. They showed up this season. They went out and they got a veteran, and they had a really, really good year at number 2 seed right now out west.
I'm wondering. And I think this year we got 3 incredible coaches of the year candidates in Thibodeau, Monty Williams, Quinn Snyder, all guys who revitalized their respective teams. And it's going to be fun. And, even the guy in Memphis who's done a nice job, he could have been in that consideration. But, overall, it's going to be, the first round to me is as fun as anything you're going to see because everybody's fresh. You know, you haven't been beaten up. You have to get used to your officiating. And you see guys you just didn't follow a lot during the season. And fortunately for me, I watch a lot of NBA, so I'm not really surprised at what Devin Booker is going to do. I'm not surprised if they wipe out the Lakers in 5 because they don't have anybody who can guard that kid, period.
And your boy Rob Fisher, his team won yesterday too.
Yeah.
The Memphis Grizzlies upset the Jazz.
They got 3 former first-round picks, maybe 4 on that team. And they got some guys who can play. They just been given another opportunity, and they're growing together. They're going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, so the only 2 games tonight, Heat and Bucks, and then Blazers and the Nuggets tonight for the in the NBA. We're going to come back and wrap it up right after a word from our friend Ryan Kelly.
You know, the only thing faster than this supersonic golf cart are the closing times at thehomeloanexpert.com. Mortgage rates are in the 2s, and we have a 21-day closing guarantee. Apply online today at thehomeloanexpert.com.
There's Ryan Kelly and his golf carts. He just got back. They finished the climb. I think they are back home as they finish the climb for the kids, the 2021 climb for the kids up.
You got to get him on next
Alaska.
week and talk about that. I want to know what the recovery was like.
All right, we'll do that. Hey, quickly before we wrap things up here, one serious story and then one fun story. I don't know if you saw this. Eugene Chung, the former NFL offensive lineman and now an assistant coach, has come out and said that he was told he was not the right minority while interviewing for an NFL coaching job this offseason. He said during a webinar on Thursday with the Boston Globe, they said, well, you're really not the right minority. And he said he kind of looked in the mirror and said that, what are you looking for? Like, what kind of minority are you looking for here? He said he didn't identify the team in question, but was stunned to hear such a comment. He said he asked about it in his suit, and that's when the backtracking started. He said, no, you said it. And he said it was mind-blowing that in 2021 somebody would say such a thing, apparently in an interview as well.
Well, I've known Eugene since he was playing college football. We used to represent him, and a classy guy, good person. I'm not surprised, man. It's the NFL. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, this is a league that is so tone deaf in perception. If you think that's something, you ought to sit in on when they have the combine and the players do their interviews.
I know the stupid questions they have for that. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. And, the NFL just lets it keep happening. They have no sensitivity whatsoever. So it's not a surprise. It's a disappointment, but that's the NFL, and I expect nothing less.
Yeah, I didn't see which teams he interviewed for. Do you have any idea which teams he interviewed for?
I got a good idea, but I'm going to leave that one alone.
All right, you can tell me that off the air. We'll end with this. I know that you saw this. I don't know if you guys talked about this at all in your broadcast over the weekend, but last week the Palm Beach Cardinals down at the at Roger Dean, they had themselves quite a week. A week a lot of those kids are sure to remember. So it started off last Tuesday. They were playing Port St. Lucie, the Mets low A ball affiliate. And this year, the Mets their rehab is all taking place down in Port St. Lucie, and that's where they're sending the guys that are injured. So starting pitcher Seth Lugo was on the mound for them on Tuesday. He threw 4 pitches in the first inning, said, that's enough, went down to the bullpen and just kept throwing for there. The players thought it was pretty cool to sit in the dugout and see Seth Lugo pitching on the mound. The next day, it was Noah Syndergaard that was on the mound doing a rehab assignment. The players, again, got to see Noah Syndergaard pitch. Thought that was pretty cool that they got to take a look at him, at Thor, on the mound. And he threw a couple innings and, again, struck out a lot of guys, and it was an impressive outing for Thor. And then at 1 a.m. Thursday morning, the team gets a message telling them, hey, you're going to be facing Jacob deGrom on Thursday. So that's 3 days in a row, 3 of the Mets starting pitchers coming through and facing rookies, teenagers, 21-year-olds down at Palm Beach.
Did you hear how deGrom wiped them out, though?
I'm going to get to that. But some of the quotes that have come out of this have been absolutely amazing. So first off, the players said that they weren't really given. I mean, the scouting report they were given was, he throws 102. He's got a 97, 98 mile an hour slider. So in 2021, these kids went to their Xbox, their PlayStation, and they got on MLB The Show to see what his pitches looked like in a video game form before standing up there. The first batter of the game gets on. Mason Wynn gets on base, steals second, and then said that he felt that Jacob deGrom looked into his soul for 5 seconds, pissed off that he stole on him. And then he stole third right after that before Jacob deGrom struck out the next 8 batters. Jacob deGrom, which wasn't messing around in the game. But Mason Wynn, who, by the way, what is he ranked right now? Where is he at in the Cardinals system? Because I know I've heard 20. That name before. Okay.
Top 20. He was a first-round draft choice or a second-round draft choice last year, I believe.
Yeah. I'm really hoping that he makes his way to St. Louis because the kid seems like he's just a quote machine. He had this to say. It was Dollar Beer Thursday. It was already popping. But with Jacob deGrom coming into town with low A ticket prices, I mean, come on now. Say less. We had drunk fans enjoying the hell out of themselves. It was great. So these kids really, really enjoyed just being absolutely dominated by one of the best pitchers in baseball the last 5 years.
Well, you know what? It's going to be something because most of them won't be playing in the big league. So this will be one of their brushes with greatness for sure. And, you know, and I understand that deGrom did some really good things for a lot of those kids while he was there. So that's the cooler thing about it when he provides the spread and make sure that they live it up for the days he's there.
Yeah, John Beller, the left-handed pitcher for the Cardinals, Palm Beach Cardinals, had this to say. Lugo and Syndergaard brought like 85% intensity, but deGrom clearly went out with the intention of absolutely blowing us away. The second pitch of the game was 102 on the scoreboard. The whole dugout was like, what the hell are we supposed to do with that? Not only that, whoever runs the social media account for the Palm Beach Cardinals, they deserve a little bit of a raise too because they were having a lot of fun with everything over the weekend too. So it's fun to see when a team is just getting dominated like that and they understand where they kind of rank. And
they know they got a lot of work to do.
Yeah, and having a good time with it and realizing what it is that's going on with that. But I did appreciate all of that over the weekend. What do you have coming up with this week?
A lot of baseball. Cardinals, White Sox, then Arizona, then the Dodgers. So we got a lot of things going on. We'll wrap it up with Ferrari on the Blues side. We'll do some NBA with Rob Fisher and Brevin Knight, talking a little bit with them about the NBA playoffs. And as you always know, Joe, a lot of things just kind of fall in our laps.
Absolutely. I will. I'll be up here. I'll be tweeting from the games the next 2 nights. I'm gonna hit up. They got a loaded fry bar in section 110 here, Claibs, at guaranteed rate. I'm gonna go hit that up and get some fries tonight at the ball game.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah.
Wish I was there.
I'm sure you do. Okay, seriously though. Do you miss I mean, you've been doing this for over a year now. You haven't gone to any road trips or anything like that. And
there's some cities you miss, yeah.
Right.
And there's sure, others you never have to go to again.
Right. I'm sure you don't miss, going to Cincinnati, but I'm sure you would like to make a trip up to Chicago, or you'd like to go to LA this weekend, or Arizona.
Arizona is too long of a bus ride to and from. And that ballpark's in the middle of nothing right now. LA, if you're not around a hotel, there's nothing around there. Let's see where.
Fine.
else?
San Diego 2 weeks ago. You missed going there, right?
Yeah, I missed San Diego.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see where else is fun. Pittsburgh is a good spot.
Is it?
Yeah. I mean, you can walk to the ballpark, walk over the bridge, Roberto Clemente Bridge.
I've never been.
Yeah, it's a nice place. I would put that on a list that everybody should go to.
Oh yeah, I mean I've heard things about that. So next week, because next Friday, not this Friday, next Friday, I'm going to a game at Coors. So that'll be the first time I ever visit that stadium. So
it's a good spot.
I'll get some tips from you of things to do out there for that. But until then, we'll wrap things up today. Appreciate all of our sponsors: Ameren, Illinois, Mungenast St. Louis Acura, and Ryan Kelly, the home loan expert. Find him online at thehomeloanexpert.com. John and Rick on the call tonight with
yes,
with
sir.
you.
Yes,
all
sir.
right, 7:10 is the start time for the game tonight. Claibs will be on the pregame show there on KMOX. Until then, for Mike Claiborne, I'm Joe Roderick. You've been watching Lunch with Claibs and Joe here on ClaibsOnline.com. Talk to you soon.